Excuse us.
Pardon me, ma'am.
Sorry.
Move it, asshole.
Oh, thank God. We got good seats.
Damn right we did. What's up? We got the drinks.
We got the popcorn.
And the candy.
I think we're ready, man.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late. The bathroom here is nuts.
Oh my God, you made it. Yay.
It's about time, Nathan. Damn.
Shh, the movie's starting.
I'm Nathan Simmons, and I put my binky in the binky box.
And you'll never eat my pussy. And this is the Silver Linings playlist.
Wow, yeah. Coming out of the gate.
This is the Silver Linings playlist, and you are Knuff.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And if you're used to listening to our show, you're not hearing a third voice right now. Mally was a worm that crawled into a plate of spaghetti and came out and said that was some gangbang. So
what a great line. There's so many lines that are in the background in this film that I just was so enamored with. What is this show? What are we doing?
Well, that's a good question you asked there, Nathan. This is, as I've mentioned, the Silver Linings playlist. And if this is your first time tuning in, buckle up. We're talking about a movie today called Blue is the Warmest Colour, as you can tell by the title.
Also known as The Life of Adèle, chapters 1 and 2.
And we like to watch movies such as Blue is the Warmest Colour. And we try to find the silver lining at the end of it. Movies that typically don't end with happily ever afters, as this movie does not.
Right. But on top of that, this was a listener request.
This was. I'm glad you mentioned that. So a couple of things here. We always tell people, if you listen to our show and you got a suggestion and you think it's a movie that would be right for an episode, email us, and you can do that at the silverliningsplaylist@gmail.com. And, tell us a movie that you think qualifies for the show. We'll dig into it and see if, we think it'll work. And this is one of those. We've done a couple listener requested episodes up to this point, but this is one that I had not seen before and had always been on my radar. I've heard a lot of things about that one.
Right.
Quite a long movie. Runtimes typically don't scare me away unless they're dramas. Because then I'm is 3 hours really necessary for a drama? But
and I think some of that has bearing on why I'm a little slap happy at the top of this episode, because I've watched this movie twice this week. And just living with these characters for a period of time is just it leaves you feeling some type of way, man.
Was it a specific reason why you watched it twice, or you just felt like I need to go back?
So the first time I watched it, I was very under the weather. And so I was like, I don't want that to sort of color my feelings about this movie, because it, when you're sick and you watch something, it sometimes can really drag down the experience, right?
Yeah.
And also I came to this movie, I had also put this movie off for a while. And a lot of that is because, as you and I have talked about off mic, no art really exists in a vacuum, right?
Right.
And so I knew the stories of how these actors and the crew on this movie were allegedly quite mistreated by let's just say a director who's an egomaniac.
Yes.
And possibly a very abusive personality. And so that was really difficult for me to kind of come to this story, right? And so I gave this 2 viewings, because the first time I came to it not feeling well, with a lot of baggage on how I view the safety of actors and how I just the sort of the lore behind this movie, right that kind of makes it difficult to digest. And so I don't know, I wanted to come back and just watch it for the performances and for the story, and I think that was a good call. That being said, this is an exhausting film.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm in the same boat. I had heard about the production of this movie and how it did not go well. And I wanted to give it a fair shake because, it seemed interesting.
Yeah.
It seems like we have gotten movies like this before and since that, have done really well in terms of awards and recognition and things like that. And this one, for some reason, didn't. I mean, yes, it won some prestigious awards, but I feel like in hindsight, a lot of people kind of sweep this one under the rug. And I don't know why.
Yeah, I could see that. I think some of it is that people were very quick to distance themselves from it once the actors began talking about the difficulty of the film and how they were, forced to shoot long days, hundreds of takes for some scenes. The centerpiece sex scene of the film taking 10 days allegedly to shoot, something like, and also I think that people were very put off by, and we'll get into it, the graphic sexuality of the movie.
Sure.
I think it didn't help that also the original author of the graphic novel, Jules Moreau, distanced themselves from this project as well, like kind of found it to be sort of antiseptic in the way it approached sexuality, or at best, and then at worst, sort of voyeuristic. And I can see both of those points.
Yeah.
I think you're right, though. I think this movie was widely celebrated the moment it hit.
Yep.
And then very quickly, everyone was just like, let's maybe not talk about this anymore.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate because this is a good movie.
It is exceptionally well acted and very moving.
Yeah.
But it's hard to separate the art from the struggle that it took to make it.
Sure. Yeah. And I've got some information I've pulled together.
Mm-hmm.
I want to save it till we get to a specific moment in the movie to really dive into that stuff. Because
totally.
I front loaded a lot of humor up front on the episode because I didn't want people to see the episode and title and go, oh boy, they're talking about that movie. Ugh.
It's going to be a real drag.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring some levity to it.
Sure.
But, and this episode's not going to be all, downer discussions about the production of the movie.
Totally.
I do have a lot to talk about in terms of the story itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I will say, right at the top, we briefly talked about it. Yes, this is a movie that a listener emailed us and asked us to cover. Her name is Chastity.
Mm-hmm.
And she emailed us during the off season and said, hey guys, I just started listening to your podcast and I love it. Mm-hmm. I would like to suggest Blue is the Warmest Color. It's a French film released in 2013 and rated NC-17.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't review it, that's okay. I just wanted to suggest it. Respectfully, Chastity. And I thought that was very sweet.
Yeah.
Very to the point.
I hope you're still listening after the Society episode. And
So she is.
Yay. Cool.
I do have some unfortunate news.
Oh.
I won't go too deeply into it, but I did reach out to Chastity and say, hey, that's great. We'll definitely cover that movie on the show.
Mm-hmm.
If time allots before we actually do, send your thoughts in on what you think about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, she's going through some things at the moment. I wish her nothing but well wishes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wish her all the best. I'm so sorry, Chastity, if you're listening to this, that circumstances, be them as they may, didn't allow you to get your thoughts in time for the episode recording. Mm-hmm. But if you happen to still listen to this and you want to let us know, please email me. Yeah. And I'll be more than happy to read them and share them with the guys here.
And thank you so much for suggesting this because, this is probably one that I would have kept kicking on down the road and maybe never given the time to.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that I have an excuse. Oftentimes with movies that come up on the show that are not my suggestions is ones that you guys put forward or that listeners put forward. It always gives me a reason to go and find those movies and, finally give them the time of day. So yeah. So, Blue is the Warmest Color. I guess if you are not too familiar with it, I'll say it's a French movie. It is about this character, Adèle, who is coming of age. It's basically a movie about a girl coming to grips with her sexuality and falling for her first real love and kind of how things go from there. I don't want to get too spoilery just yet. If this is a movie, you've maybe briefly heard about in the zeitgeist, you weren't too familiar with it. I think this would be a good idea, Nathan, like we did last week, to move our recommendations to the forefront here. Yeah. Before we really dive into it, because I don't think this is necessarily a movie you can quote unquote spoil. Right. Like there's not really like huge revelations in this thing, but I do think if you're somewhat interested in it, it is a gay movie. It is about Adèle realizing that she is a lesbian and coming to grips with that and falling for this girl Emma and how things go with that. And arguably it's a movie about there's some bi erasure happening throughout this movie as well, where like she's kind of pressured to be one or the other by her family, by her friends, by Emma's friends, and so it is really about just growing up and figuring out what you want and how sometimes that, you can't define yourself by another person, even if you want to. Right. And I'll say also, as Chastity mentioned in her email to us, this is an NC-17 rated movie. Yes. As you, talked about as well, there are some very, very graphic scenes in it. I'll say I do recommend this movie right off the bat. I think, and I'm going to make these comparisons a lot throughout this episode, if you like Call Me By Your Name, or if you like Moonlight, or any coming of age story specifically tailored around sexual identity, then this is probably right up your alley. I actually have a review here that I wanted. It's just very briefly a part of a review. Totally. David Stratton of The Australian perfectly summarizes how I feel about this movie.
I read this review. It's a great review.
Great. Okay. So just a synopsis of this review, just a little, section of it.
Mm-hmm.
He says, if the film were just a series of sex scenes, it would, of course, be problematic. But it's much, much more than that. Through the eyes of Adèle, we experience the breathless excitement of first love and first physical contact, but then, inevitably, all other experiences that make life the way it is. All of these are beautifully documented. And I couldn't agree more.
I mostly agree with that.
Okay.
I think that, yes, I would recommend watching this movie with the caveat that, like you said, it is NC-17. It gets very graphic,
very graphic.
Something that we really wouldn't see in American cinema outside of maybe a Lars von Trier film or something.
Yeah.
But I found the big controversial sex scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we'll talk about it later, but I found some of the sex scenes in this movie to be a little much.
Sure.
I don't know exactly how to describe it. There's an artificiality to some of it, or the way that it is staged, that
I can tell you exactly what it is.
Okay, please.
Because I actually wrote this note down, and because it's not me that's making this observation for the first time, but a lot of people said this. It's because it is a sex scene between two women that is done through a male gaze.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, Joachim has that, or Joachim, that's how you say it. Yeah, it has that great speech. I mean, he's kind of, pontificating bullshit for half of it.
Yep.
But he gets to that point where he says, women are unknowable. They experience things way differently than men.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fascinated by, their inner life and their light. And I think almost that speech, that meandering speech, could be the director's thesis behind making this movie.
Yep.
And there are moments where that fascination and that expression really sings. And there are other moments where, it feels like I'm watching a male fantasy, it's tough because when those intersect, because so much of the movie feels so pure and true that whenever I get those kind of gazy moments, it fully takes me out of things. Like we'll talk about it later. There is a fully gratuitous shower sequence towards the end of this movie that destroys an emotional moment for me.
Yep.
And I don't mean to sound like pearl clutchy.
No.
We've talked about sex scene discourse and how I think that it is just as it is a natural part of life, it should be a part of storytelling if it fits the story and the story you're trying to tell.
Yeah.
There's just a way that it is presented in some portions of this movie that just don't jive with the story that I'm into here, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm of two minds about it.
Yeah, same.
I can definitely see the criticism of it being male gazy and unrealistic. And I can also see I get caught up in the emotional, just how Adèle is feeling at any given time that I kind of buy into it. But
100%. Yeah.
Well, let's save it till we actually get to those things, because I don't want this whole episode to just be about the sex scenes.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So, all right, let us talk about the production, the release, all that good stuff around Blue is the Warmest Color. We just had the 10-year anniversary of this film back on October 9th. So this is kind of perfect time to talk about this movie. A lot of these people in this movie are French, and so I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing their names. But here's what I did, Nathan. I went and found phonetical pronunciations of most of them.
Bless you.
So I'm going to try here. We'll see how well I do. If you're French, please write into the silverlinesplaylist@gmail.com and tell me how close I am. Okay. The director is Abdelatif Kechiche.
Correct, yeah.
The movie stars both the character name and the lead actress here, Adèle Exarchopoulos.
I think it's more like Exarchopoulos, but
Exarchopoulos.
Yeah,
I might just be taking too long to get in between the syllables. You're probably right.
It does sound like you're summoning something.
Adoué Dambala. Of course, I can pronounce this name just fine. Léa Seydoux.
Yeah.
Love her.
Previously seen on the podcast.
Absolutely. Catherine Saleh. Jeremy Laert. Ore Henricoing, I believe is how you pronounce this person's name. Sandor Fontek, Salim Keshush, and Mona Wehovens. I believe is how you pronounce her name.
Man, kudos to you for doing the legwork.
I'm trying.
No, absolutely.
I'm trying. Especially when you see like Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. I gave up halfway through some of those names.
We should say, speaking of Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, I don't know about you, man, but I watched this movie on Tubi.
Oh, no, I actually have a copy of this one. So this time I did.
It took me about almost 4 hours.
I want to hear where those ad breaks were because I bet those were interesting.
I mean, it was a lot of the same stuff from Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
Gotcha.
You know, there's a big argument. They're screaming and they're crying, and then it cuts to T-Mobile ads or Jake from State Farm.
Oh, you know what? I got an update, actually. We talked about it last week, whether or not I'd have a job or not, and I do. I found a job.
Yeah. Huzzah.
You mentioned T-Mobile, and it's because the company I'm working for now does a lot of T-Mobile related things, so that's why I wanted to bring it up.
Okay.
The budget of this movie was 4 million euros, and it managed to gross $19 million worldwide.
Hey.
Currently sits at an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I have actually had a revelation recently that I did not know about this, and I want to know if you knew about this too.
Okay.
A Rotten Tomatoes score, it's because we always talk about the critics score.
Yeah.
That is not to say that all critics thought this movie was 88% a good movie.
No, it's an aggregate rating. Yeah.
Was this movie good or was it bad? 88% said it was good.
Yeah.
So I did not know that. So that puts into perspective a Rotten Tomatoes score for me way more.
That's really funny. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not realize that you didn't know that.
No, I always thought that meant people were like, on a scale of 1 to 100, where would you put this? And the average was like 88.
That's funny.
That's what I always took that to mean. So there you go. You learn something new.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm the only one who didn't fucking know that. So I learned something new.
I think it's you and Snyder Bros.
There you go. There you go. What? This movie's not 100%? God, fucking everybody hates Snyder. This movie was nominated for the Golden Globe Award for Best Foreign Language Film and nominated for Best Film Not in the English Language at the BAFTAs.
The British gotta really lengthen out those category titles, don't they?
I know, we gotta make them a little bit longer.
The greatest film not spoken by Englishmen.
I have a drink of the film, Nathan.
Oh.
I don't know how well this is going to go down.
Do tell.
So I bought... there's a scene in this movie where Adèle, when she first meets Emma, she's in a bar, in a lesbian bar, and she's drinking a Bulldog beer, which I looked for. I could not find it. And then Emma orders her a strawberry milk.
Yes.
Now... I am disappointed that Mally is not here.
Oh boy.
Because if you are a regular listener to the show, you know he and I have very different opinions on milk.
Right.
He is basically like he's in a Clockwork Orange for his whole life. He fucking loves milk.
He chugs it.
He's one of the droogs. I am vehemently opposed to white milk.
I can't drink it. I can't drink milk.
Can't do it.
Have we talked about this? I can't do it either. I can't even smell it.
Let's talk about it now. Could this be the whole episode? Just talking about how we hate milk?
Milk is the whitest color and I hate it.
So what I did, because Emma mentioned ordering Adèle a strawberry milk, is I went out and got a strawberry milk. Now, the reason I did this is I wanted to find a cocktail that incorporated strawberry milk.
Did you just make like a red Russian?
Well, that was the thing.
Russian, whatever it's called.
That was the thing. I looked up specifically strawberry milk recipes, and I could not find a single cocktail that revolved around strawberry milk. It was always use white milk and then throw in some whole strawberries. I'm like, no. She ordered a strawberry milk at a bar. I want strawberry milk with some booze in it. So I didn't come up with any good recipes. So what I did was I just went and bought, and I'm peeling the seal off of it here.
Oh.
I went and bought a, this is going to be terrible, a Nesquik strawberry milk.
Okay.
It's been sitting here since we started recording the episode, so it's already been sitting here about 15 minutes, just getting room temperature.
Good.
So,
and you're going to add something to it, or are you just going to drink strawberry milk on the show?
Well, here's I'm going to put this to you. I do have some peppermint schnapps. I could put in this.
Dustin, no.
I don't know how well that would go.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. But before we started recording, I just hear Priscilla go, "So what's all this?"
Yeah. I was like, "It's for the episode." She goes, "What's for the episode?" I'm like, "Well, you didn't watch the movie." She goes, "Why would you need that?"
That's so funny.
You should have watched the movie.
She's not a fan. She doesn't know about the drink of the film. A segment we do every week.
I did ask her to come on this episode because I feel like she'd have a lot to say about it, but she goes, the movie was boring. Yeah. And I was like, wow, okay. All right, so strawberry milk.
No, I think it also should be mentioned up top. Yeah, two guys talking about this movie. Oh, is it not good?
This tasted better when I was a kid.
Yeah.
No, it's like, you know how LaCroix tastes like, oh, this is strawberry flavor, but what it really is like, it tastes like a strawberry had low battery and we poured it in here. That's how this is. It's like regular milk, and they're like, we thought about strawberries while we made it.
You know, it's weird. So I love LaCroix. I drink it a lot, but
I can't.
Someone watched me drink it. I was like halfway through one of the pamplemousse ones, and someone said, you know, that tastes like suntan lotion. And I said, no, it doesn't. And then I took another sip, and that's all I could taste. And I had to wait like 24 hours for my mouth to reset. That's never happened to me before.
I can't do LaCroix. Every flavor I've had, it's like, they're like, oh, this is blue raspberry flavored. I'm like, it tastes like you just dropped a single blue raspberry Jolly Rancher in a bottle of seltzer water.
It's like, it tastes like if a Jolly Rancher's foot fell asleep.
This thing says it has a total of 38 sugars, and then beneath that it says includes 18 additional sugars. So is it 38 or is it like 56? What are we talking about?
What kind of calories are we talking about?
250 for the whole bottle.
Jesus.
Not worth it. It's not worth it.
No.
Oh, you know what? It does say shake well, and I didn't do that. So
we're on our way to making this a 3-hour episode already.
You're right. Hold on. Okay. Well, I'm going to finish this before we actually talk about the movie. So while I'm doing this, because I feel like I have to now for the bit, why don't we watch the you know what? Should we watch the trailer? Because it's going to be in French.
That's fair.
And we did this last week with Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, where it was all in Korea.
I mean, I can talk over the trailer if you want.
All right. I'll do my best to translate the French subtitles here.
Well, there's also some great, kudos from critics and stuff that plays over the trailer as well.
Yeah. So maybe this is worth it. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, listener, if you don't speak French. Neither do we.
We're figuring out the show in real time.
Yeah, this is your first episode. I'm so sorry. Please go back. There's other more structured episodes. All right, here we go.
I am fascinated to see how they marketed this, actually. I've never seen this trailer in full. Oh.
I'm gonna quote Anchorman here and say milk was a bad choice.
Milk was a very bad choice.
It's like 80 degrees outside.
But then you also, what are you, a sex cop, is also one of my favorite lines in the movie. Adèle is very funny, especially when you realize that they supposedly improvised a lot of the dialogue. They read the script and then sort of riffed each scene.
Yeah.
A shattering masterpiece. That's a great description. Lots of class scenes, lots of sketching.
Yeah, a class scene that kind of tells you what they're going to be learning about throughout the rest of the movie.
My favorite trope, and then it's done like 7 times in this movie. They keep cutting back to class, and it's like, and anyway, here's the moral of the next 20 minutes of the movie.
So it's Adèle at a protest, it's her dancing,
and at the Pride March,
her meeting her romantic interest Emma, drawing her like one of her French girls.
Literally.
That guy had a RoboCop shirt on.
I know,
Holy
that RoboCop shirt is sick.
Oh, this scene. It's her and Emma arguing. Ooh, she slaps her. And it cut to title card. Wow.
The title card, which looked like the title card for Wet Hot American Summer.
It sure did.
That scene in which, Adèle was injured and the director said, fuck it, keep going.
Yeah.
Which is not great.
No.
I love how many times we check back in on various versions of the classroom scene, both from Adèle's perspective of being a student and then eventually becoming the teacher who is, sort of, she sees the other side, like, I'm trying really hard to reach these kids who just are checked out.
I felt so bad for her when we get to her being a teacher.
Yeah.
Especially after the breakup, when she is just like, has no patience for these kids.
Absolutely. I'm also fascinated by one of the opening lines where they're reading in the classroom, and the line that she reads is, I am a woman, I tell my story. And I'm like, that is debatable in this movie.
Yeah. All right. So I was really worried again, much like last week's, because the movie was about 20-30 minutes in before I had really any notes. And I was like, oh boy.
Sure.
So let me do like a very brief synopsis of the character Adèle, who is, again, that's also the name of the actress playing her. Adèle is a girl who likes to eat a lot. She likes to sleep a lot. And she likes to read books a lot. She's a bit introverted, but also willing to engage in conversations about topics she's interested in, and even like she's even the one at the protest we talked about shouting the loudest. One thing I found interesting about her is she hates literature class simply because she doesn't like someone explaining to her what she's supposed to take away from reading something, and she wants to develop her own interpretations of things.
Right.
I found that fascinating.
Yeah.
Because that is a huge problem I have with English professors and literature. Like,
Sure.
they're like, it's the classic example of the author wrote, oh, the curtains were blue. And the teacher goes, oh, see, the curtains were blue because it represents this person's soul and how they're very depressed. And the author's like, no, the curtains were just fucking blue.
The curtains were blue because that's the dye that was available in the town.
It's like I do really appreciate reading other people's interpretations of things, but oftentimes I like to develop my own.
Sure.
And I felt like I don't see that character type in movies often.
No, I agree. And even when there are times when the movie is straight up beating us over the head with what we're supposed to be taking from certain. And I think it's a mixed bag, right?
Yeah.
Like there are some things that are so elegant and subtle, and then there's other times where I got the fact that she's voracious before Léa Seydoux says you're voracious.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I know. Like you don't have to throw that in. I get it.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to feel like the character herself is fighting against the narrative in some spots.
Right.
I mean, we get this from the beginning, the idea that like love at first sight could be seen as a bad thing from another perspective, because does that mean that, as you fall in love, you're not falling deeper in love than the other person? Or are you still apart from them because you just had that initial flash and that took care of everything?
Yeah.
It's a fascinating thing to think about.
I mean, I would like to think that if you're, older than, let's say, 21,
Sure.
we've all had that experience of coming to grips with your sexuality, whether you're heterosexual, homosexual, whatever, and falling for that first love.
Sure.
And being crushed when it's over, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's devastating. And we watched that throughout a 3-hour course, basically. Like, it is Adèle not only coming to grips with her being gay, but then also, falling for this older woman who is everything she thinks she wants to be, getting with that person, having her first true, like, sexual awakening, and then realizing we are two totally different people.
Completely incompatible, other than sexually. Yeah.
But still being so tied to that person because of that.
Yeah.
And the fact that at the end we find out it's not one-sided.
Right.
Like, I thought that was quite a reveal.
Well, there's also, I mean, to touch on what you said, like, I'm 35 years old and I'm still figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
And the thing that's like, you see Adèle dealing with throughout this movie, and even Emma to a certain extent, is that everyone wants a label.
Yeah.
They want to be told, this is what I identify as, this is who I am. Does that close the book on who I will ever be? If I say I'm queer, does that mean that, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to, someone down the street who just sees me with my girlfriend, Yeah. I think this movie asks really important and very relatable questions without always being so in your face about it. I think so much of it is, I mean, there's a reason the Palme d'Or was given to not only the director, but the two leads, because I would argue the direction, or I guess the way this movie is shot, is not necessarily all that interesting. I find, there's a reason why he focuses on all of these extreme close-ups, because these two women are the storytellers here.
Well, I agree to an extent. I think there's one part in particular where I think the direction is really well done, but I also see it as problematic, but we'll talk about it when we get there.
Okay.
One other thing I forgot to mention that Adèle fucking loves, and that's spaghetti. Much like everybody in this movie.
She contains multitudes, because I wrote down, we smash cut from her being girlish and delicate to smashing that sketty.
Her and Barry Keoghan from Killing of the Sacred Deer, like just housing spaghetti.
I can eat spaghetti for hours.
The amount of times I wrote, boy, X loves spaghetti is more than twice in my notes here. Like, everybody fucking we're in France this whole time. We never go to Italy, by the way, but everyone fucking loves spaghetti in France, apparently.
Love a Bolognese, absolutely.
Not to say I don't like spaghetti,
for sure,
but I can eat other things besides spaghetti every meal.
It does seem to be like, I would imagine, because we go to Adèle's home twice in this movie, or a couple times in this movie. It seems to be the one thing her dad makes, which is kind of incredible.
Well, the wild thing is, you think, oh, that's, the one thing that this dad needs to make. And then when she makes food, what does she make? She makes fucking spaghetti.
Well, and she makes it for all of these hoity-toity people who don't think of themselves as the common man and then chow down as soon as they get like a simple plate of pasta in front of them.
Yeah.
There's so much to be said about class divides in this movie as well that I think is so fascinating, how she finds acceptance, but then a whole other level of ostracization as soon as she's around the quote unquote, real cool people.
That scene that we're going to talk a lot about that scene. There's so much happening in that scene.
Yeah. The party scene is my favorite scene in the movie.
It's great.
Yeah.
So Nathan,
yeah,
I have a real big problem with this movie, and it's after she meets Thomas is the classmate's name?
Yeah,
right?
the guy who looks like every dude in a band from Panama City that I ever met.
That you could find outside every gas station bumming cigarettes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this guy, it's her classmate Thomas. He, says she's very cute and wants to take her out. And she's like, okay, yeah, you're cute. We'll go out.
Yeah.
They go out. They have this conversation in the town about reading books and whatnot. She spots this girl while they're out with blue hair. We went from green hair last week to blue hair this week.
That's right.
Maybe next week where we'll get a purple haired. I don't know. Get the last end of the rainbow here.
Yeah.
Actually, that might be true. Actually, and for the movie we're talking about next week. Now that I'm thinking about it,
possibly.
But she spots Emma. That's Leia Seydoux, and they go back to Thomas's place. And Nathan, I gotta tell you, I did not consent to this sex scene in this movie. I can't believe it. I was disgusted. I went to Twitter. I voiced my concerns very vocally.
Did you?
Yeah. I don't know why they keep putting sex scenes in movies. I didn't consent to them. I'm so embarrassed.
I thought we already talked about this bit, but
this is a bit. I'll bring it back.
100%. These characters also didn't consent to me seeing it. No, it is weird. Like, it's funny. This is the first time where, we talked about the hand wringing over sexuality in films and how I think some people, not to disparage people who are uncomfortable with that kind of thing, but there is a certain subset of film goers who lack any kind of media literacy beyond YA level, which is kind of a bummer. Yep. But no, I agree though. I didn't sign up to see Homeboy not make it happen for her.
Yeah, poor girl.
There's a couple things that happen here. Like I love that she's immediately drawn to Emma's sense of self, right? Like we see so much of Adèle just sort of feeling uncomfortable in her own skin, constantly playing with her hair, fussing with her jackets.
Her hair, by the way,
wild,
insane. Like she's got amazing hair,
unbelievable. I'd put it up there with the punk rock extra from Society earlier this season.
I would too.
But she sees Emma, who is just so confidently herself, which is both the thing that entices her, but also is infuriating the longer their relationship lasts.
Right? Yeah, Emma, who has got blue pixie cut hair, who walks around with a sleeveless denim jacket on, has her arm around the girl, smokes cigarettes.
And you can tell she feels like she knows she's quote unquote supposed to like Thomas, but she gets no charge when he kisses her.
Yeah, and she convinces him when they are finished having sex that it was great.
Right.
Because she has nothing on her face that would express otherwise.
I mean, she literally says like, I want to be normal.
Yeah.
Like she's accepted the idea that like, or she's trying to accept the idea that she's expected to date this guy because this guy is, he's a cute guy. He makes music and he's into her. So why wouldn't she?
And I also think, going back to the sex scene thing, the media literacy is a huge point. I also think it's just American sentimentism. Like, I feel like we are not prone to sex scenes as we see in European culture and Asian culture and things like that. Like, we're sheltered.
Well, yeah, in America, we still look down on casual sex, right?
Yeah.
As a culture, not necessarily. Hey guys, this is a pro sex podcast.
100%.
Out there.
You know what? Put the stamp on it. We put the E for explicit. We also put the P for pro sex on it.
Absolutely.
P.S. That's what PS stands for. It's not postscript. It's pro sex.
But it's true. Like our film history is littered with movies where sex is like the thing that seals your fate, right? You very rarely see any positive depictions of sex workers in American film. Or
I mean, that goes from the 80s.
Totally.
Like if you were not a virgin, you died first. And then like it took someone like Verhoeven to come over here in the 90s and be like, no, sex is fine. You guys are just prudes. Here's erotic thrillers, and And then we got a bunch of those. And then they...
Anyway, here's showgirls.
Yeah. And then like 9/11 happens. We're like, oh no, we got to go back. We went too far.
Grab our crosses closer. Yeah. but she does feel crazy. Like the fact that she's like, there's something, she tells her friend Valentine, I feel I'm missing something. I don't know why, like, this isn't what I want.
And the thing that exacerbates this is after she has this experience with Thomas and she realizes maybe this isn't for me, this girl comes up to her, Beatrice. This girl fucking sucks. Right. I hate this girl.
I got mad. Yeah.
She comes on so strong to Adèle and like tells her, oh, that girl's cute, right? You're way cuter than that. And then they start kissing. And then the next day when Adèle's like, oh, this is what I want. This is who I am. I am attracted to women. She goes to reciprocate. And as soon as she does, Beatrice shuts her down.
She's like, I didn't think you'd get so hooked. Like Beatrice was curious, but she doesn't realize the effect she's having on someone who was already feeling the emotional damage of not being secure in herself.
But I wouldn't even say curious because she came on with such confidence of like, I know I want Adèle.
It feels manipulative, right?
It does, which is,
but it also feels like something, a kid, like a high schooler would do to not, I don't know. Like I think, do you ever think about how fucking dumb we were when we were teenagers?
Every day of my life.
I do too. I cringe consistently when I think about how little I understood about my own wants and needs and how little I understood about how to communicate with other human beings.
I would bump that up to my 20s, by the way. Every fucking day I'm like, I can't believe I did that.
Oh yeah, I mean to today. I mean,
yesterday is my limit.
There's I'm undiagnosed in a few ways, but I gotta say, like I think about this a lot where I find myself replaying conversations and thinking, how in the world was this life and death for you?
Yeah.
Or why was this something that you felt served you at the time?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things this movie does so well is that it embraces those awkward transitionary moments as you're growing up where you're coming into your own, where you're just like, yeah, I like the moment, jumping way ahead, when Adèle says like, I don't know why I did it, I'm stupid.
Yeah.
It's one of the most, it's just so honest.
Yeah. No, I try to instill that in my kids.
Totally.
Like anytime they are embarrassed by liking something or no, I always tell them, do not, like, don't feel embarrassed. Like what you like. Who cares? If you want something, communicate it directly. Don't beat around the bush, come out and say it. So I try to instill that. And I try to do that now too. Like I try to get past the, talking around something and just get to it.
Definitely.
Because you're right. Like I do sit here and think about, I made such dumb fucking decisions. And what feels recently, but when I think about it, I'm like, that's 10 plus years ago,
Sure.
And the things I remember about people, I'm sure not the things that people remember about themselves. Like the little moments that they think, oh, everyone's going to remember that forever. No one fucking remembers it. And if they do and they're hung up on it, then that's just an immaturity level on them, right?
Well, yeah, Ashley and I were just talking about an acquaintance of ours who hurt her feelings, when during a conversation like 6 years ago. And she's like, and I realized upon meeting this person again, oh, they were 19 when they said that.
Yeah.
They probably didn't even realize how it sounded. And it's the things that Adèle's friends say to her are not the things someone who, you would hope are not the things that they would say to each other years down the line if they kept in touch.
The scene where the girls confront her, we'll talk about it when we get there, but Jesus.
Yeah.
I just blood red with anger.
But I do love, Valentine takes her out to the club. She walks in, realizes everyone's kind of themselves, but this is all the dudes where the ladies at, right?
Yeah, we should mention Valentine is her gay male best friend.
Right, yes.
Because I don't know if that's clear necessarily, but yeah, he takes her to this gay club.
Yeah.
She's 17, I believe, at the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the drinking age in France is. I think it's 18. I think I looked it up, actually.
I think that is correct. But
she goes with him to this gay club, and then I just wrote down, man, club culture is so bizarre to me. Like, I've never been one. I'm totally down with bars.
Yeah.
But straight clubs, gay clubs, doesn't matter. Everyone is all gold out like a piece of meat.
Yes.
The music is so loud you can't hear anything. The drinks are overpriced and it's too crowded. Like none of this is checking boxes for me. I'd rather go to a bar, sit my ass down, and I'll deal with the loud music there, but at least I can, I'm comfortable.
I agree. I don't want to be on my feet. I don't want to dance.
Don't want to dance.
No, if there's good drinks, good conversation, and maybe a drag show, let's go.
Yeah, I'll do that. I will. Can I sit down? Great. then I'm here for it.
No, I had a friend ask me once because I like turned them down to go hang out, and they were like, "No, I thought you loved gay clubs," and I was like, "No, I love gay bars."
Bars, clubs are the less than sign to bars. Like
100%. But I also I respect this. I love this moment where she sees Emma, she follows her to the other bar, and she walks into this lesbian bar and has this look. Adele has this look on her face of, how am I just now finding out about this place?
Right.
I love that.
It's like, it's insane. It's like when, hold on. I got something cooking here. Hold on. It's like when you buy a jacket and then you realize it's reversible.
Oh,
and you're like,
my
holy
God,
shit.
Absolutely.
I wish Mallory was here to talk about that reversible jacket that he loved. So.
When you get sweatpants and realize it has back pockets also.
I was going to say, or when you're a woman, you buy pants and you realize the pockets are not sewn in.
Right,
you're like,
or
holy
dress
shit.
with pockets. Yeah, 100%.
Man, we're really talking a lot about pockets and clothing, right?
We love pockets.
So I got a question for you, dude.
Yeah.
How absolutely nuts would it be? And maybe this has happened to you, but I can't recall it ever happened to me. You're out in public, right? You see a stranger that you are just instantly physically attracted to.
Yeah.
You go home, you have a fantasy about being with that person, and you masturbate to that fantasy. And then not only do you run into them in public, but you start becoming friends with them and then start dating them.
They come over to talk to you.
Yeah. That would blow my fucking mind. There's no way I wouldn't be able to get that information out. Like, by the way.
No, I would think I'm being Truman Showed.
Yes.
I'm like 90% sure I'm being Truman Showed.
Like, at least after the first kiss you have with that person. Yeah, like, by the way, you're never going to fucking believe this. But
I love this moment where they're having this conversation, and we're in these intense close-ups. It's just them there basically, and then all of a sudden, all of Emma's friends crowd around, and Adele becomes very aware of herself, and that is something that, like, on a rewatch, you're like, oh my God, that is something that is their entire relationship. That feeling of being on the spot never goes away.
Yeah, when she's one-on-one with Emma, it's great. They can have this, like, Emma sees right through to Adele. She can tell she's underage right away.
Yeah.
She can kind of tell that this is her first time in a gay bar.
Right.
Like, she can see all that on her face.
And she calls her out whenever because Emma's whole thing, aside from loving to eat, or Adele's whole thing, aside from loving to eat, is that she loves everything. She likes reading everything. She compares Bob Marley to Jean-Paul Sartre, like which is one of the funniest things I've ever heard. But she's like, it's art. They're both artists, and it's all important to me. And which you can see as maybe being a little naive, but also is sort of endearing.
Have you seen Priscilla yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. I met my wife, by the way. Have you seen her? I can't find her.
Where the fuck did she go?
Where'd she go? No, there's the reason I bring it up is because when Emma's friends arrive at the bar and they crowd around and they all are like, oh, you like this one? You pick up, like, it feels very frat bro-y, kind of.
Yes, yeah.
It's very similar to in Priscilla when Elvis is around Priscilla. They have great one-on-one time, but then, like, when his frat bro-y friends come around, it's the same energy.
He's got to start posturing.
It's the same kind of vibe, and man, that's so uncomfortable.
To Emma's credit, in this scene, she doesn't do that.
Yeah, she does defend her.
Later on, she'll just kind of vanish, and
she just leaves her out to dry. Yeah. So it took 167 episodes, but we finally got someone drinking milk that's not white because she orders her a strawberry milk.
Yes.
I don't think anybody's ever drinking chocolate milk on the show. I can't recall.
No. How are you doing with that, by the way? Oh, well, no. Corey drank chocolate milk in Halloween Ends.
Fuck. You're okay. So now we completed the trifecta. Then Neapolitan. We've got the white milk, the chocolate, and now the strawberry. We got the frontiers of it. We got the kid from Elephant, the school shooter, drinks the white milk.
This is our Mount Rushmore. Is the kid from Elephant.
Corey drinking the chocolate soldier. now Adele. Yeah,
that's incredible.
Could someone draw that up, please? Could someone make a Mount Rushmore with those three on it?
I'll also accept Mickey Rourke in Angel Heart.
Oh my God!
Instead of the kid from Elephant.
Yeah. And then we got to put Mally on there too as like the fourth, just because he's the pioneer of the white milk conversation.
He's planting an American flag in the top of it.
And then so they're talking about what they like. You know, Adele's like, I like movies. And Emma goes, what kind of movies? And I realized me and Adele have a lot in common because she goes, oh, I love Kubrick and I love Scorsese. And they start talking about, I don't know why I put an Italian inflection on Scorsese there. Scorsese.
I love films.
Is this an episode of I Love Films?
I think it is.
That's not the right. You're listening to the right podcast. Don't turn away. So they go out, and then I wrote this note down, and I did not realize how coincidental this note would be. But like, go to the park, and Emma is sketching Adele, and I was like, oh, Emma's drawing her like one of her French girls. And little did I know that later on,
100%,
we'll come back around. That note will have way more significance to it. So
I do love that we can chart an evolution in Emma's work in this movie too.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about other movies with artists in it where either the artwork wasn't for us or it felt like, you know, a bunch of different artists contributing to the same fictional character.
Yeah.
This one, you can actually see a through line in how her work develops.
You can see her get better.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So back at the gay club, Adele tells Emma, this is the high school I go to. And Emma goes, okay. And she kind of vanishes. And then later on, when Adele is getting out of school, Emma's there waiting for her. Adele's friends kind of see her go off with this girl and they're like, who the fuck is that?
Right.
She comes back and all her friends start reaming her immediately. And they're like, who was that? Who was that girl? Why'd you go off with her? And man, fuck this homophobic girl and her stupid bangs right away, because this girl, you know, and actually fuck all her friends, now that I'm thinking about it, especially the one that starts accusing Adele right away. Like, she checked out my ass and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
she sleeps in my room. She's, And they're like making her, they're like, you have to tell us you're a lesbian. She's like, I don't want to admit what I'm not. Because, you know, she's still not ready to say that.
Yeah. Because who knows if she is? She doesn't know.
And when someone is confronting you and yelling at you and berating you and they say, we're just talking.
Yeah.
That drives me insane.
Yeah.
Because that is also such a realistic touch to the conversation.
I wanted so badly for Julia Ducournau to come in here and direct this one scene because I wanted Adele to just bite this girl in the face like Justine from Raw. I wanted it so badly. And it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, unfortunately.
We do have the one friend. So Valentine gets her out of the conversation, but we also have the one friend who's like, no, like you straight up attacked her. And I think it's worth noting that those are two of the people that we recognize at her birthday party later. Yes. Not any of those other girls.
The girls defending her.
Yeah.
And here's what I want to talk about too is they all seem to know that Valentine is gay. Right. And have no problem with it. But it's the fact that Adele may be a lesbian that sets them off. And it's just because purely like they're all jealous of her. Like they refer to her earlier on in the movie that, oh, you're the prettiest one, like for sure. Like you're the cute one. And then she gets with the guy that they all think is cute and she breaks up with him. She's like, it's not working out. And then that's what really leads this attack on her. And it's just, man, I was just red with rage during this scene.
It's so vicious.
Yeah. And what's so weird is like the girl with the bangs is the one that like starts to instigate things. But then she's got the hype man, the other girl that's like, oh, she fucking loves the taste of pussy. She'll never eat my pussy. And I'm like, it's so crazy.
It's nuts. It goes so over the top immediately, but in a way where I'm just like, yeah, that is exactly how a teenager would attack another teenager.
Yeah. No, it was bonkers, dude. I couldn't believe it.
And I hate seeing her in class after this crying, and the teacher doesn't seem to notice or care that she's broken right here, you know?
Man, I had a high school teacher that was phenomenal with stuff like that. Because when I had my first, like, kind of like this movie, like when I had my first real puppy love, first breakup, like she could sense it in me and like, and funny enough, it was a literature class too.
Man, there's something to be said for English teachers who are really in touch with their like sentimental side because I had an English professor in college who was so kind to me during a time when I needed it.
Yeah. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe English teachers are just, of all the spectrum of teachers, English teachers, literature teachers are the ones that like have the most emotional core that is capable of it.
I'd like to think that's true.
And the science teachers are they're just like, no, they're fucking Spock. They're like, this is not logical. It's not logical to be this upset in high school. I do find it very sweet that when Thomas, the boy she was dating earlier in the movie, made the first move on her, she kind of recoiled a little bit.
Yeah.
And then when she makes the first move on Emma, she laughs.
Yes.
Like I found that dichotomy interesting, that like the male approach, like leaning in the movie theater to kiss her, she kind of, you could see it on her face, she's not comfortable.
She's not into it.
When her and Emma are out here laying in the park, and she rolls over and kisses her, she has a giggle fit, and I thought that was great.
And I love this. I love how tentative this scene is. I love how they're using such simple phrasing to describe themselves. I mean, just the phrase "I realized I preferred girls" is such a simplification of everything that they're trying to talk about. And I don't know. I know I've used the word honest a lot, but it feels so honest.
Well, honest, and it also feels like, you know, she's 17 in high school and Emma is like an early college student. Like that is...
The kids. They're young. Yeah.
She asks her, what did it taste like the first time you were with a girl?
Yeah.
And, you know, she's very direct with her questioning, which I do appreciate.
Yeah. But also, if I can be honest for a second, this is my question that I told you I had from before we started recording.
Oh, yeah.
Do you ever feel...
Do you
ever feel like you don't look at paintings long enough?
Dude.
Does this question make sense?
Okay. I'm so glad I'm not the only one who feels this way. Priscilla loves handcrafted art, like paintings and sculptures and things like that. I could not give a shit less. And that's not to say, you know, I disparage the artists that make them.
Totally.
It's clearly good work, but I never get invested with a great painting or a great sculpture or a great art installation. That's why I gravitate to movies. Like I appreciate this kind of medium.
I see. I love art. I love art. Said the most boring man in the world. I know, but I
like art. I like girls. I like milk.
I sound like Jerry from Rick and Morty. Oh, human art. But no, I don't know. If I'm at a museum and I'm looking at a painting, I mean, I've even went to the Van Gogh Museum, you know, or I'm looking at like, you know, this tapestry from 1695 or whatever. I'm always affected by it emotionally, and I love taking in the artwork. But then I feel like, okay, well, y'all are all staring at this for a long time. Am I not getting something out of it that you do?
Maybe that's it. Yeah. Because I can go I go to like a history museum, and I can see like, here's some Native American, blanket that they made. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then that's about how much I take it in. I'm like, that's really cool. And then I move on, and people are like, no, we got to like look at it more.
No, hang on. We got to sit with this here. I could stare at a painting for hours.
Man, we got to do face off on this show, I think, at some point. I know. I just same thing with like actual abstract art, like abstract paintings and things like that. Like, what do you get out of this? I'm like, I don't know, man. George O'Keeffe made a flower look like a pussy. That's really cool.
It is,
and I'm glad. But I and it's unique. But I don't know how I emotionally envelope that.
But I run into this all the time because I also do the comic book podcast, and I love comic books as a medium.
Yeah.
But when I'm describing what I like about a piece of artwork or a cover or an action sequence, it usually is just some mishmash of I like the dynamic here. This is really, there's kinetic energy here, but I don't really know how to go super deep on process, and I think that maybe that's part of it.
Well, you run the risk too of sounding much like the guy you mentioned earlier with the scarf and the scene later on that gets very pretentious. Yeah. Like you run the risk of sounding pretentious when you start using the actual jargon and vocabulary to describe this is why this is so good,
Sure.
But like for me, and I'm like that guy, that Comedy Bang Bang character of like, it's rather good.
That's a Paul Rust character, wasn't it?
Not Paul Rust. It was, was it?
I think it was rather good.
It was rather good. I can't remember who it was. It's not Paul Rust, though. I know that.
Oh, man.
But no, I feel the same way. Like, I don't know how to express necessarily sometimes, especially when it comes to painting and, pottery and things like that. I'm like, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can describe to you why it's good, but I prefer this to not that. And I don't know why. But
you're a real Zuby Condorino in that way.
This podcast is just a podcast about other podcasts. That's all this turned into.
Yeah, we're Earwolf adjacent.
Yeah, we should be on Earwolf. Please, Scott Ockeran, get us on. We can do it.
Totally.
All right, let me bring it down a little bit because now we got to talk about the whole contention about this whole movie. Is we get our first sex scene.
It's longer than any sex scene in the room, which is already sort of a red flag for me.
There are parts of this I like, though.
Okay.
I think the decision to have no score at all in this.
Yes.
In this sex scene. And it's what would you say? Maybe 5 to 10 minutes at least?
It's, I believe I read 7.
7? Yeah, that seems about right. it's a sex scene with no score.
Sure.
And it is incredibly intimate. It's very striking because there is no build up to it. It's Emma and Adèle out at the park kissing and just being very flirty, and then it just smash cuts to a very intense sex scene.
It is, I mean, there is an immediacy to it, right?
Yeah.
Like there is like you get Adèle's character of being voracious and just wanting all of it all at once, which I think is from a character standpoint, I think it totally works.
Yeah.
I just think it maybe goes on a little too long.
Well, I think I'm of two minds of it.
Sure.
I think it's great because before that, you can see Adèle in the scenes before when she's around Emma. She's jittery, she's nervous, she's trying to play it cool, but you can tell she is boiling over with emotion and affection, and she just wants to touch her, and she maybe can't articulate it, but this is what she wants more than anything.
It's the release that the first 70 minutes of the movie are building to. Absolutely.
Yes. Like you think the movie is going to be like her being able to attract Emma and become this sexually charged woman, and you think that's going to be the movie, but that's just like one part of the movie.
Yes.
Like it's very expansive in the tale of Adèle, and I think 7 minutes can feel long for sure. And I did, while I'm watching it the first time, think, man, this is going on for a long time. But then I'm thinking about it like she's 17 years old. She's probably been at least having the feelings of amorousness, she probably for 7 years. So like, it's like a year a minute. And it's just like, this is all explosive, especially when you counteract this with the sex scene with Thomas earlier on that was like 30 seconds long.
Right. No, absolutely. It is an expression of, it's a celebration. It's a moment of liberation for her.
Yeah.
She has the whole time, I think Adèle, her facial expressions are unbelievable. She has this one moment where she has and I don't mean to make, this is not a joke. She has this look on her face like, I get it now. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
she comes online.
Yes.
In this
this is what I have been looking for.
Yeah.
And like I said, I just think, and honestly, a big part of this might just be, again, I'm having a hard time not thinking about these actresses being verbally berated off mic or off camera.
Sure.
Supposedly at one point they tried to like make jokes to, chill each other out.
Yeah.
And the director screamed and threw a monitor into the street.
I specifically did not. I knew there was some whisperings and rumors around this movie, and I specifically didn't research any of it until I had already seen it, so it wouldn't impact my judgment on it.
That makes sense. I had read about it a little while back, which was like another reason why I just kind of put this one off for a while. It's a bummer because, like we were talking off mic, it can make it difficult to meet the movie on the storytelling terms it's trying to create.
Yeah, I have a few more positive things I want to say about it, and then we can really dissect it, because and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but
I agree.
Truly, like, we have to talk about all of this stuff. So another reason I do think it's well done is because it feels like the director is putting us right in the bedroom with these two women. Like, I feel as a willing and accepted third party in this scene, because of the way we are in these girls' faces. There is no shying away from anything about this sex scene. Like, it is very real. It's very intimate. It's provocative, and it's provocative in a way that is maybe the most intense sex scene we've covered on the show, and it's done in a way that feels more erotic but not perverse, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, it's not Basic Instinct. Like, it's not sex for titillation.
It doesn't exist specifically for titillation.
Yes.
Yeah. I also keep going back to the source material, which, like, I have my own issues with the graphic novel, which is really really well written, but also is very clearly like a first work.
Yeah.
But when they consummate their relationship in the book, my recollection is that it's maybe like a page and a half. Like, that's not the point of the scene, is to, just kind of drag that out.
Yes.
So I don't know. I like I said, I'm of two minds about this. Like, I appreciate the realism, and I appreciate the what this has to say about the characters, but there are moments of it that just, I feel like, okay, man, like, I get it. You're really enjoying shooting. Like, I don't know. It's hard to put into words why it puts me off.
It is easy to see the other side of the argument of, this is just a male director wanting to shoot two attractive women having sex together. I get it. I totally accept that as one interpretation of it.
But that interpretation does feel at odds with the rest of the movie.
And it feels dismissive.
Yes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and again, I'm not looking at this as a work. I'm looking at this as part of a body of work.
Yeah.
And knowing that, on his following film, he demanded that the actors do unsimulated sex and got them drunk in order to shoot it.
Yeah.
And I lose. It's hard for me to look at this in a fully artistic lens because I'm like, well, this is allegedly, I'm going to sprinkle a lot of those in here, what this guy does.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And to further expound on that, it's probably just my American sentiments and understanding of how films are made here in the States. But I just genuinely watching this, this first sex scene, I could not wrap my head around how you fake a sex scene like this, because
yes,
I read up on it and they say they use prosthetic genitalia, and I can understand that in something like Basic Instinct, but when I'm seeing here, it feels, I'm like, how the fuck, and it's not something like Lars von Trier's Nymphomaniac, which I understand the practicality and the logistics of shooting a sex scene like that, because they used adult stars' bodies and just grafted the heads of the actors onto it. I get that.
Sure.
But this may be the closest I've ever seen simulated sex appear in a movie. And
I agree.
I'm just fascinated about the mechanics of it. Like, how will you film that?
Yeah. And when you think about the fact that, there's no version of shooting a sex scene for a movie that feels sexy, right? And so, there's the fact that they are able to, bring out these performances as well is extremely impressive.
Well, do you mean the production of it, or do you mean the end result?
The production side of it.
Okay.
Yes,
No, I totally get that.
But I don't know. I said this to you and Mally. The thing I keep coming back to is, if the community theater productions that I do can hire an intimacy coordinator, or someone to choreograph even, a simple kiss, I just don't see, I don't see the practicality or I don't see the point in dismissing that from your production if you're a filmmaker.
I would say I admire that the two girls here, Adèle and Leia, really took it upon themselves to make this something that was not as male gazy as they could. I can't speak for lesbian sex. I don't know if scissoring's a real thing or not, but they do it in this movie.
They do.
And I don't know. So,
and I will say, there is some of the backlash against this movie, I think, kind of conflated several sequences, right?
Yeah.
I remember reading one review of this movie that was like, the first time they make love, they scissor. And I'm like, that's not how it happens in the movie.
Yeah.
I think you're just sort of combining all of your beefs into one.
Can I actually read? You mentioned the author of the graphic novel. Can I actually read something about what they said about this movie?
Absolutely.
How do you pronounce it? Jules Moreau?
Jules Moreau.
Jules Moreau.
I believe.
They said, it appears to me that what was missing on this set was one thing: lesbians. And you're right. Yeah. I can feel a male director's deft hand at making this.
Totally.
But like I said, I think the girls really took it upon themselves to make this something that wasn't just, let's just ogle these two women having sex for 7 minutes.
Well, and they, yes, I agree. And I think that they fully, Adèle has described working with this director as having their soul taken.
Yeah.
And you see that soul on the screen. To the point where the next time she did a movie, I was reading this interview with her where she talked about the next time she did a film, after 3 takes, the director said, "We got it." And she burst into tears because she was just like, how is that possible? How is it,
Yeah.
In some ways, this has made it difficult for her to work again, which is wild. That you've had your brain rewritten by a director like that.
Yeah, and also she said that while she wants to praise the director's originality, she called his adaptation coherent, justified, and fluid, a masterstroke. She also felt that he failed to capture the lesbian heart of the story and disapproved of the sex scenes.
Oh, one thing. Are you talking about Jules Moreau?
Yes.
Okay. Just a heads up. They are identify as non-binary.
Excuse me.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you corrected me. They said in a blog post that they found the sex scenes to be brutal and surgical.
Yeah.
Which I can get the brutal part. I don't necessarily agree with the surgical part.
I agree. Yeah. I see what you mean.
They also said it felt more like porn and it made them at ill ease. And again, I get that assessment of it. I see it a little bit differently.
Sure.
And they even said that when they're in the movie theater, when they were watching the movie with an audience, the heteronormatives laughed because they don't understand it and they find the scene ridiculous. And the gay and queer people laughed because they didn't find it convincing.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that is just uncomfortability, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not used to being in a theater surrounded by 400 people seeing something like this for this long. I mean, I felt, I was like looking back and forth in my own living room.
Sure.
So I can't imagine seeing this in a packed house with the actors.
Can I tell you this? I was watching this movie. I was watching this in my bedroom alone, and Priscilla knew what this movie was, so she wasn't like shocked by it. But like this sex scene went on for so long that she came in the bedroom because our dogs were in the bedroom with me while I was watching it, and she goes, "I thought the dogs were throwing up in here."
Oh my God.
I was like, Jesus Christ, is it that bad?
I mean, you remember earlier this season, we talked about how the opening shot of Bodies, Bodies, Bodies felt like we were invading someone's privacy, right?
But that felt more like I shouldn't be here than this did for some reason.
Interesting.
Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I felt more grossed out by the bodies scene than I did this. I don't know why.
Well, because we don't know those people yet, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is.
I guess it feels that movie is not about coming of age and coming to terms with your sexuality and everything.
Sure.
It is just a campy, fun little thriller that just happens to have a gay character.
That's
so
true.
Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe.
Or maybe I just don't like kissing. Maybe I don't like up close, wet sounds.
Poor Priscilla.
No, Priscilla. No. Let me rephrase that. Maybe I don't like watching other people kiss.
Fair
I don't
enough.
want to see you all kiss.
Okay.
Listener, I never want to hear you and your wet mouth sounds. I'm good.
Says the guy who's edited so many eating noises into this podcast.
You're right. Okay. The last thing I want to say about this stuff, and then we can move on, is, and we talked about this briefly earlier, is it's hard not to at least consider the possibility that the reasons why movies like Call Me By Your Name and Moonlight get more recognition and respect than this movie is because it's about women.
Possibly.
Like, I have to factor that in.
Yeah.
Because the movie's made by a man, and it inherently it's going to have a different perspective than if a woman directed it, or a non-binary person directed it. And I don't know, the characters in this are so vibrant with their authenticity that I am enamored with Adèle like I was with Chiron and Elio in those movies.
Oh yeah.
Like, maybe it is because the French decided to go a little further with their, exhibition of sex versus something like Call Me By Your Name.
Possibly.
But I mean, you kind of have to factor in the sexism aspect of it. You have to, because this is a lesbian movie and those are two gay movies, or at least, with a gay lens wrapped around them. So I don't know. I wish this movie was talked about more in, the same breath that Call Me By Your Name and Moonlight are talked about.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
well, and I think, like, to your point about, loving Adèle and watching her journey, like, I love, there are things that you can specifically chart, like not just her wardrobe, which I love a color story in a movie, right? Like, I love seeing her, wear more blue and more vibrant colors.
Yeah.
But like, there's so many scenes of this movie where she is in a situation surrounded by music. Yeah. And you can tell when she's actually feeling like herself, because the lazy little arm pump turns into full on dancing. And it's my favorite little, I don't know, I love that detail.
Yeah. Okay, I'm off my soapbox now about the sex scenes.
Absolutely.
I have one question, though.
Sure.
What does the title of this movie mean?
So I read this interview with Adèle Exarchopoulos where she talked about how, to her, it meant, the blue immediately takes her away whenever she sees Emma for the first time.
Yep.
And over time, the color blue becomes sort of her safe space, her safety blanket. Like, that is what she wants to wrap herself in.
I agree with that.
But I also love the irony in the title, and that blue is in fact not a warm color, and this first love is in fact not forever. I think it's a brilliant title.
No, I like that, because that makes way more sense to me.
On the subject of the title, though, when this was released originally, it was released under the title The Life of Adèle, Chapters 1 and 2.
Right.
And supposedly she did not realize that the title had been changed until she went to the premiere.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the character in the original graphic novel is named Clementine. So they changed the character's name to be her name. And I feel like, I don't know, there's something weird about that to me, where it just feels like she shows up to this movie that now is purporting to tell her story in a way. I don't know. It's an interesting. That's just a weird little wrinkle that I don't know how I'd handle if I were in her situation.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. Okay, we're not even like halfway through the movie.
I know.
I got to speed it up. Okay, I have a question too.
Uh-huh.
Emma definitely didn't tell her parents that Adèle doesn't like shellfish for that dinner, right?
100%.
Like intentionally didn't tell them. Okay,
I think so. She wants to get her to try new things. Yeah.
See, I took it from much more of a like controlling her kind of vibe. Like,
sure.
I kind of saw the seeds being planted. Like I was getting real shape of things vibes.
Sure.
Which is a sentence no one has ever said before.
No. Especially since you can't legally watch that movie anywhere.
You can't. Not even on the God. Tubi doesn't even have it.
Tubi said, "Fuck you, Neil LaBute."
we'll put the most dog shit movies you've ever heard of, but Neil LaBute, get the fuck out of here.
We have Deadly Dilf, but no Shape of Things.
I also realized in this birthday scene where Adèle turns 18 how inferior the English version of Happy Birthday is compared to other countries.
Oh my god, this is like a rallying cry, isn't it?
Dude, ours just says Happy Birthday and then the person's name for a while.
Well, it's because of those miserly crones, Mildred and Patty.
Yeah, those miserly crones. The countries, like in France, are singing about wishing someone's years be sweet and carefree.
Uh-huh.
And someone on TikTok had this great idea. They're like, listen to the Happy Birthday song next time you're at a birthday party. Mm-hmm. Only listen to the words happy in the song and hear how much of a cult like chant it sounds like. It's like happy.
And people always kind of like lean it happy birthday because no one knows when they're gonna start. I love that.
I despise someone singing happy birthday to me.
Me too.
I will cut you off.
Me too.
Mid-syllable. Don't fucking do it.
There is a photo of me at like 7 years old sulking because I was supposed to have happy birthday sung to me at a CC's. They wanted me to stand on the chair.
Oh my god, no. That's another thing. Restaurants, we got to cut off of the happy birthday singing, especially the ones that come up with their own cute little song for it. Like, no thank you. I think Texas Roadhouse does like a little rodeo song. I don't want that. Just give me my fucking free slice of cake and get the fuck out.
I love these scenes though, meeting the parents, like the Emma's parents are just, cool and also well off and don't realize that they're well off, or they don't act like,
They are so cool.
They're so
cool. I love her parents.
But they also, it's interesting that they sort of push at the idea that she wants to be a teacher, as though that's not like a noble thing to do.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, Adèle's parents are the same way. They're like, the dad is sort of stiff towards Emma, but he's not backing down from this idea that like, they need to get a real job or they need a husband who will take care of them.
Yeah.
And it's weird how these like old-timey sentiments get, pushed by both parents in different ways.
Yeah, the opposite ends of the spectrum, but both kind of pushing you in the same direction, like just different ways about going about it. Mm-hmm. No, I liked both the parent scenes. I think Emma's parents are cool, but it also, with how open they are, it kind of makes her, because she almost comes off as like a rebellious art student, but it's like you see the family that she comes from, you're like, oh, you're not really that rebellious, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like y'all are smoking at the table, and I know it's France and they have different culture, but you're smoking at the table, eating oysters, drinking wine, it didn't seem that rebellious to me that you dyed your hair blue and had a pixie cut, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then this is where my note comes back into play, because not only is Emma really drawing Adèle like one of the French girls, she's doing damn near the exact same pose that Jack and Rose do in Titanic. I thought this was amazing.
It was kind of wild. I was a little shocked that it's fully almost the same pose, but I love this jump forward in time. I think all the time jumps are handled really interestingly. They're not, draw your attention to them, but they carry themselves differently. They dress differently. Emma's hair is blonde again.
I was going to say, I found it very interesting that after the relationship starts officially, Emma drops the blue hair altogether. I found that very interesting. The reveal later on in the movie, like the climax of the movie, how it switched from what I thought it was going to be, kind of blew my mind, because I thought this movie was planting the seeds of, oh, Emma does this with girls all the time. She finds these girls and she kind of manipulates them. And
she needs a muse, but she doesn't necessarily need to be in love. Yeah.
And then like after she gets what she wants for them, she dumps them from some, like I thought the movie was going that way. And boy, was my face red when I realized it was the opposite, kind of.
Oh, sure.
Later on. But no, I did find it interesting. She drops the blue like right after they start dating. And we get this scene that we talked about already. What was the guy's name? The guy in the scarf?
The guy in the, Joachim.
So we have this scene, and this is Emma's like, what is specifically this part? Like she has her first installation coming up or something like that? I can't recall.
She's basically she's trying to get him to display her work, but she's also, she does have a new installation. And so it's kind of a celebratory dinner inviting the arts community out.
Right. And so this guy in this scarf that is like kind of like holding court during a lot of this is talking about orgasms. And this guy can step right off the face of the earth, because I thought, what a bore of a human being that this type of person could be. Like the highfalutin artsy type that this guy is. I just can't.
Well, and he also tells Adèle, I love what you do. Yeah. But what he means is the poses and the paintings. Yeah. Like he doesn't, and Emma is clearly perturbed that the muse is getting more love than the work.
Yep.
There's so many different layers here, right? Like each of these artists, multiple people ask her, what do you do for a living? She's like, I'm a teacher. And they have no follow-up questions.
Not at all.
Except for Samir, who like then genuinely wants to talk to her about her life.
Yeah.
But like, she's getting lost in these conversations because they are, these are folks who take pride in being the smartest people in the room at all times. We've got lines like, I'm working on morbidity.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, I like the dark shit, and they're all highfalutin. And then she totes out the old family spaghetti recipe and everyone's like, fuck yeah, spaghetti.
Yeah, everyone laps the shit up. Yeah. No, I thought this might be my favorite scene in the movie because
it's mine for sure.
She's thrown to the lion's stand with Emma's friends and acquaintences.
Mm-hmm.
She, meets who I believe is Emma's ex, Liz, right?
Elise.
Yeah. And there's some tension there because Adèle is a very jealous type. I would say. I don't think she's jealous. I think she's a jealous type.
She touches she touches Lisa's stomach because she's pregnant and sort of scans Emma's face to sort of try to figure out, how do you feel about children?
Yes. Yes.
Because you can tell like this is maybe a conversation that they've been too afraid to have.
Yeah. And then like Emma and her friends get lost in the weeds of talking about artists and what they like about him and things. And
I wrote down, they're eating spaghetti and she's like, oh, this is so pleasureful. And then one of them goes, can pleasure be shared? Well, it's different from everyone. And I'm like,
I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Can y'all just eat some fucking spaghetti? Stop talking about the mystical orgasm.
Eat the fucking spaghetti and shut up. But she's thrown in there and you can tell she's uncomfortable because they all clearly have a friendship circle that she's not privy to, and she's getting tossed into it, and Emma just leaves her out to dry in every scene where she's with her friends. And then she starts chatting up with Samir, and I thought it was brilliant. They have this black and white film, and I don't know the name of the film, but it's projected on a screen because they're outside in like a garden.
Right.
And Adèle and Samir start dancing like just casually, platonically. And as she's seeing Emma talking with Lise, and her emotions are mirrored by the actress in the movie behind her. And I thought it was so fucking well done.
Yeah.
Like, you see the character in the movie just being heartbroken, and then Adèle starts feeling the same way because she can't shake this feeling that there's something else there going on that she's not privy to.
Right.
It was fantastic.
And she feels lonely. Yeah. Like, she's dancing with, Samir is a nice guy, but she's dancing with him because he's the only person who's talked to her like she's a human being yet.
And not just a piece of sexual meat that's been plastered all over Emma's artwork.
Or not just someone who brought the spaghetti, right?
Not the help.
Right, exactly. And he even asks about lovemaking in a genuine way. It's not like in a weird,
not a perverted way.
Yeah. Granted, if someone asked me at a party, like, what's sex like? I'd be like, hey man, why don't you leave?
What's your fuck style? Yeah. Are you a Michael Myers type or a Palpatine type?
But there's like a real juxtaposition in the way that he asks her about teaching and asks if she likes kids. And I love this moment where she says, so many of her lines in the scene are so loaded, but she has this moment where she says, she's talking about painting, right? Like in posing for painting, but she says, I can't imagine doing this with anyone else.
Yeah.
And I think that that's true. Yeah. Like this is her first love. She's moved in with her first love. And, what else is there going to be? What else could there be after this?
That's a perfect segue to talk about what, after the party, Emma is laying in bed and Adèle is getting ready for bed too. And I kept waiting because they're talking about, what do you want to do, Adèle? And I kept waiting for her to use the word fulfilled.
Yes.
And she finally does, because she says, Adèle says, I want to be something more. And Emma says, oh, you're not fulfilled. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what it is. And I felt like I was watching Michelle Williams and Ryan Gosling in Blue Valentine in this scene, talk about potential. And I'm like, I don't know. It felt more composed in this.
But it's also, Emma doesn't really listen.
Yeah.
She doesn't, sometimes you meet somebody who you love and that's enough, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not a compromise if that's what your happiness is. And Emma calls it a waste for Adèle to write for herself instead of others. Like she doesn't understand. It seems like she's gotten so far into the weeds with trying to put her work on display for the world that she's forgotten that self-expression can just be, worthy enough. That can make you feel good, and having your hobbies and being with someone you love. Like she says, Adèle says, it's my way of being happy, and it hurts me to hear you insist that I'm not.
Yeah, Emma needs the praise and admiration of her peers, whereas Adèle can do things in her own private life with Emma or without Emma, but writing by herself that is fulfilling enough.
Right.
And that's not something Emma can wrap her head around, because she's an artist that it's so funny to say the word artist, because yes, she technically is, and she is technically good at what she does, but she can't even see that an artist doesn't necessarily need to have that outward expression to be creative.
Right. I mean, she has this like tirade about how people only think in terms of business.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you are too. Like the only thing that you care about at this point in terms of your art is having that big gallery opening.
Yep. And that's why you're having this party, because somebody who is like one of the biggest art curators around here. So.
Right.
I don't really have a segue for this, but I just wrote down, what the fuck? These kids get fucking beds to take their naps in? I don't know about you. When I was in kindergarten, I had to sleep on a 2-inch fucking mat.
Yes, same.
What the fuck, America? Step it up.
No, I was jealous of nap time.
Right? These beds look so cozy.
Everybody gets handed a stuffy that's like there for them. There's a Rockabye Baby playing over the...
Yeah. Okay. I'm so jealous.
This preschool looks rad, and also I'm kind of obsessed with the fact that like I don't think anyone told these kids they were in a movie, because they are. There's one kid who like waves at their parent off camera. There's one kid that the one who just stares is so funny. I sent you that clip, and I remember I watched it. Missed him the first time. When I watched it the second time, I was like, can he see me? Like,
he's like, you pervert. I know why you're watching this movie a second time. No, so we should probably set this up. So this is a couple years later, I believe, and Adèle has become a preschool teacher, and she's got a couple of different people that she works with. One of these guys is clearly into her, and it's so crazy because later that night, Emma goes, I think the guy asked her, what do you do? And she goes, I'm just going to go home. I don't really go out.
She says, I have dinner with family tonight. But what she means is I'm cooking for all of Emma's friends.
Yeah. And then the guy says, oh, anytime we invite you out, you're always busy. Like, do you just not want to hang out with us ever? And she goes, no. She goes, I'm busy. And I don't know about you, but she gets this phone call from Emma, and my stomach dropped when she goes, oh, I'm going to be working late with Lise.
What got me was she ends it with, call if you want.
Yeah.
Which is that's not what you say when you want somebody to, and it's, probably an innocent phrasing, but it's, And
Emma confirmed too that was her ex.
Yes.
After the party that night. So.
Right.
And then, man, I did not have on my bingo card that Adèle was going to be, or Adèle, excuse me. Adèle was going to be the one to verifiably cheat first.
Oh, yeah.
I did not see this coming.
She goes to a salsa bar, and again, you can chart how she's feeling based on dance sequences, but she immediately starts acting like herself. And it's a little bit gradual, but she becomes comfortable. She takes off a layer of clothes. She starts just breaking it down. But yeah, she starts stepping out.
Yeah, she kisses this guy that she works with in the cab after he drops her off. And then she comes upstairs, and Emma's waiting for her. And man, this scene is hard to watch.
Yeah, she deflects multiple ways, including just straight up saying, I was out with a friend. I was out with girls. A girl dropped me off. I'm not ashamed to be with a woman. But she also, you can tell she knows how dumb she sounds when she says, I didn't want to hurt you, because of fucking course. Of course you didn't want to, but that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And there is something in this movie, and it's never, as far as I can tell, it's never verified up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
But there is this feeling you get because of scenes like the phone call where you think Emma is the one stepping out.
Right.
But in this scene, and maybe this is my interpretation of it,
Sure.
I get the vitriol and the surprise from Emma as genuine.
I agree.
I think she genuinely was not cheating on Adèle up to this point.
Maybe emotionally.
Well, she's cold.
Yes.
Emma's colder as the years go on. Adèle still has that like honeymoon phase infatuation with Emma.
Sure.
But she doesn't feel it reciprocated, which is why she steps out on her.
And she tells her, like, I feel alone.
Yeah.
I'm alone all the time.
Yeah. I don't get that same love from you that I used to get.
Right.
I don't get that same smile, that same infatuation. You know, the only thing we have is the sexual chemistry.
Right.
But the desperation that Adèle feels when Emma confronts her, it's all she wants is a hug.
Yeah.
That's all she wants. And she keeps going in for a hug from Emma and she cannot get it. And it's hard to watch because I feel like we've all been there.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we've all had that moment of like, I've made a mistake
That I cannot take back.
Yes, I did something I regret. I'm young and I'm in a relationship and this blows up in my face and it's tough. It's tough to relive that through a third person.
I would say we've probably also been where Emma is,
Yes.
where she is specifically saying the things that she knows will hurt.
Yes.
Like she is cutting, she is calling names, she wants her out of the house. And if this is how she has to do it, then so be it.
She calls her a slut.
Yeah.
She slaps her. She, like you said, she accuses her of being ashamed to be with a woman and things like that. And it does feel like your world's collapsing in moments like that. And Adèle plays this so fucking true to form. Like it feels, this is worse than the breakup in a marriage story to me.
It's
like,
so
this
hard to
is,
see. Yeah.
It's intense. And then when she does kick her out and she's just pounding on the door to get back in, and then she's walking the streets, she's just got snot running down and she's just pouring tears. It's
she can't even find joy in teaching anymore.
Oh
like
my
there's,
God,
a few scenes ago, we see her doing like a rabbit impression with a goofy, sticking her teeth out and loving story time. And now she gets a hug from a kid and has to walk away to cry.
She spirals, man.
Yeah.
She's sleeping on benches in public, like the same bench where her and Emma would meet.
That broke my heart.
She smokes more. She's less patient with her kids that she teaches.
She's gone back to taking up as much space as possible in the bed when sleeping too.
Yeah.
And she wakes up with a shout.
Yeah.
Because she's alone.
And she's crying like every damn scene, dude. It's tough to watch.
Yeah.
In this part of the movie, and I don't know why this jumped out at me, but I felt like Adèle here, the actress, I think and this is a non sequitur, but I feel like she could portray Shelley Duvall in a biopic.
Oh, interesting.
I kept noticing they have similar features and even more, like, they both present the same way on screen that is unique to them.
That's interesting. I could see that. Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought she had the same kind of manicness in her that I see in some of Shelley Duvall's performances. And I don't know. I thought that would be interesting.
I mean, there's that scene where she's sitting by the window just smoking and she seems panicked.
Yeah.
This is right before she goes to, and I don't know if we're meant to know that this is the day she's going to go meet Emma for coffee, but it sure feels like it.
Yeah. And this coffee date, which I had to look up. I didn't realize this was how much of a time jump we did, but Wikipedia tells me it's at least a few years. Emma agrees to meet Adèle at this coffee shop, and Adèle lays it on thick how badly she wants to get back with Emma, that she hasn't stopped thinking about her. She tries at first to compose herself and ask her how she's doing and things like that. But
they're making jokes. They're making half smiles. It's like comfort mixed with discomfort.
Yeah.
It feels very real. But yeah, Adèle's telling her like, oh, I love your new paintings. I see what your fans write on your site. Like she is fully still trying to have a connection there.
Yeah.
And then, she breaks and she just says, I often go home alone.
Dude, the fucking casual bombshell throwaway that you find out that Emma and Lise are together
and raising her child.
I was sick in bed. I was like, oh my fucking, and man, you know what it felt like? I felt for Adèle the same way I felt for Ingrid in Ingrid Goes West when she is obsessed with Elizabeth Olsen to the point of it being manic. And like, Adèle composes herself as much as she can at first. And then when, Emma's like, oh yeah, me and Lisa are happy together. We're raising her kid. And she says that line, I often go home alone. I'm like, oh my fucking God.
I have a hard time getting attached. Like she starts saying all the quiet parts out loud. Yeah. But this is also where I wrote, don't suck your ex's hand in public, y'all.
Okay, so I thought this was going to be revealed to be kind of like her, not that she was having a daydream or something, but like it was much smaller than she was making it out to be.
Right, because imagine the other folks in this diner.
That's what I was thinking.
Also, the reveal, there's a reverse shot at the end of this scene where it's revealed this happened in the middle of the day.
And there are other patrons in this restaurant. But so what happens is she starts caressing Emma's hands and she starts sucking on her fingers and then they start making out hardcore. She starts groping Emma in the middle of the restaurant, and Emma at first is apprehensive, but then she does start to reciprocate.
It's very close to an assault. Yeah. Like it is a moment of panic on Adèle's part. Yeah. And this scene is brutal to watch.
I thought what was going to happen is we were going to zoom out and it was just going to be the reality of the situation was like she was like taking Emma's hand and like caressing her own cheek or something like that. Right. I thought it was going to be much smaller than that. But the fact that like, I don't know, man, I also expected the waiter to come up with like a pitcher of water and be like, are you guys okay?
Like, but also like Emma straight up admits that sex with Lise is not good.
Yeah.
Like she's just not satisfied.
Oh my gosh. Emma sheds a tear and, Adèle's like, don't tell me you haven't thought about us since, we broke up. And she goes, I have. She goes, I'm happy with Lise, but I can't be fulfilled as much as I can in sex as I was with you.
It's never been the same.
Yeah, it's never been the same. Yeah. Lise, it's boring, I think is the word she says.
Right.
But she does say, I forgive you for this, but I do not love you anymore.
Right.
And man, that's just, it's hard to watch, man. It's hard to watch someone pour their heart out and get, at least Emma lets her down as gently as I think she can.
Right.
And it's just, she says she feels infinite tenderness. That's the word she uses. And that's apt.
Yeah, I love that. And it's difficult, and it's helped by this following scene where the kids are reading a poem about not needing to be anything other than what they are.
Yeah.
And that's kind of sums up, hopefully, Adèle's frame of mind going forward is being able to love herself again.
I would like to think that, but this final scene, I don't think, it doesn't give me much hope.
My problem is that this is a lovely moment that is in the classroom that is immediately followed by a gratuitous shower scene.
Yeah, it does. It's going back to the, Adèle and her mopey kind of life.
Right.
But she gets ready for this art exhibition.
Yeah.
And she dresses in this bright, vibrant blue dress.
Oh my gosh, that dress rules. It's amazing. So good.
She looks incredible in it.
Yeah.
In fact, even in this movie, like, even when she's like, pouring her eyes out and she's like sobbing, this girl and Léa Seydoux, like, just look incredible throughout this whole movie.
They have an unbelievable life behind their faces. Yes. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, this movie doesn't work without either of them.
Yes. They are both fantastic actors, and they are just, the camera loves them both. Like, it's incredible.
Absolutely.
So, this final scene here, Emma invites Adèle to her art exhibition.
Oh.
She goes to this exhibition, and Adèle just feels completely out of place.
Yeah. And
uncomfortable and unwanted.
I mean, she shows up and she says to Emma, thanks for inviting me. And Emma says, it's normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, they're just acquaintances now. Yeah. Or like, that's what they're trying to be.
Yeah. She's trying to be we can be friends, right? We don't have to have this tension between us. But like, it's Emma's gallery. So she's got to, liaison with the patrons and everything. And then it's revealed that one of the drawings that Emma did with Adèle is one of her pieces there. And everyone's drawn to it. So she still, is profiting off of her relationship that she had with her.
Well, and Lise shows up and says, "You're still here," which is a incredibly loaded line.
It is so loaded
because Lise could just be it could just be said to comfort her, but it also there's a little bit of like, wow, you're always going to hang over my relationship in some way, aren't you?
It felt, because she says it with a smile, it's so mean girly. It's like, you're still here, meaning like, yes, like, oh, you're still hanging around. I thought we got rid of you.
Right.
Also, I can't believe you didn't kill yourself by now. Like, it's such a fucking backhanded fucking sentence to say to somebody.
Right.
But she runs into Samir, the guy that she was dancing with at the party years before. And they strike up a conversation. He's, talking about going to New York and things like that. And you can just tell she's just not, she's made a mistake. She shouldn't have came to this gallery.
Right.
And she starts to leave. She leaves the exhibition without saying goodbye. She does an Irish goodbye.
Yeah.
She's walking down the streets, smoking a cigarette. And Samir comes outside to, chase her down because he realized that she disappeared. And he looks forward and starts going the wrong way down the street to catch up to her.
Yeah.
And it's a very quiet ending, man. You kind of literally just see her walk off into the sunset.
Yeah.
It's a similar ending, I got to say, to something like Call Me By Your Name.
Yeah, sure.
And Moonlight. Like, I know we brought those two specifically, but it is that kind of like, I've come to terms with this, but I don't know how I feel about it kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I've accepted this is what it is.
Now I have to create what my life is next.
Yeah. Like, I've spent a good chunk of my life devoted to this one thing, to getting the answers I needed.
Yeah.
And then now, I've gotten the answer. I don't like the answer. What do I do now? I don't know if that's wasted time or if I've learned something, but right now I couldn't tell you,
And I gotta say, I prefer this ending to the graphic novel, which is a lot bleaker.
Oh, what? Please tell me no one kills themselves.
Well, so it's unfortunately when they break up, Clementine, the Adèle analog in the graphic novel, begins abusing pills, and it slowly kills her.
Yeah.
And most of the book is told through Clementine's diaries, which Emma comes to claim after she dies. Ugh. And it's like it very much, like the white guy was saying, it very much feels like an early work. It's tremendously written and really beautifully illustrated, but also unfortunately falls into some of the bury your gaze tropes that follow a lot of queer fiction. But I prefer this ending here because it does feel like, and again, it's something a young creator would, I think, write. But love doesn't have to destroy you or be the end when it doesn't work out.
I don't know. I like this movie a lot.
Sure.
I thought this ending was great for what it is. I want movies like this that are this emotionally devastating, but I want one that has at least a much more upbeat ending for once.
Yeah.
Like I feel for Adèle throughout this entire movie.
Sure.
I see she's somewhat naive and immature, but she knows what she wants and she goes for it. And I find, I don't know. I don't need her to get with Samir at the end. I don't need that.
Right.
I want her to get a little more self-worth. Like, I would love if this ending, she goes to the gallery, she gets the cold shoulder from Emma, and then
it's just like, fuck you. I'm gonna do my own thing. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how you even do this in such a quick amount of time, but
Sure.
I want her to be like, you know what? Okay, this is what it is. I've accepted it. That's okay.
Right.
I still love myself. I still have, my kids at school. They need me. I'm there for them. Like, I don't need a person to fill that void. I want that kind of ending as like an alternate ending to the story.
Sure. Well, and that's the thing that I think is a little bit of a bummer when it comes to queer focused media. Is so many stories that I have engaged with have been sold to me as, this is a beautiful gay love story. It's going to break your heart. Yeah. And I'm just like, I don't know. I want to see them win.
Yeah. Just once. I mean, Moonlight, you kind of get there.
Sure.
But yeah. I don't know.
I see what you mean.
There's probably tons of movies that we're talking about that we're just not privy to.
Oh, yeah.
And my last one of the movie is Adèle wore blue to Emma's exhibition. How devastating.
Right.
Like, it's like she chose that specifically, that color. So I like that.
There is a line where someone says off camera that Emma's new work skews more red.
Yeah.
I see the early Emma here. I see new Emma. What is this?
Yes.
Which I think is interesting.
Yeah. Nathan, any final words before we get to our wrap-up segments on Blue is the Warmest Color? I'm
really glad that I finally got around to watching this.
Me too.
There are some things that are hard for me to get past, and a lot of them are not indicative of the art itself.
Sure.
It's just unfortunately, existed or was created under the circumstances that it was. But I'm so glad that I have seen this story and that I, am able to, that a listener recommended it to us to get us off our asses and watch it.
Yeah. Thank you, Chastity, for finally, whipping the belt and making me watch this fucking movie. I appreciate that.
100%.
Man, I don't have a top 10 for 2013, but this would probably be in it.
Sure.
If I had to guess. So All right, well, we're running long, so why don't we lightning round this last little bit of stuff here. Let's go ahead and jump over to Prop Cop. For new listeners of the show, Prop Cop is where we look at all the props in the movie we're talking about for this week. In this case, of course, blue is the warmest color. Mm-hmm. And Nathan and I are going to fantasy draft one prop from the movie for ourselves. Nathan, what you got?
So it's not really a prop. I just want a bowl of that pasta that Adele made for the art party.
I wrote that down too.
As a backup, also, I want the flowers that Adele brings to Emma's parents.
Yeah, that was nice.
Those are pretty.
I wrote down I wanted the sketch of Adele that Léa Seydoux draws when she does the French curl pose, like the pose, because I thought it was nicely done. It was tasteful. Yeah. And I also like that she puts a cigarette in her mouth. That's very French. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, bit part, our second segment here. There's lots of minor roles in this movie, lots of extras. What if Nathan and I were in this movie? How would that be? Probably weird.
Would you guys like it?
Yeah. Would it be a better movie? Would it be 5 stars instead of 4? I don't know. But let's say one of those people's was us, Nathan. I don't know if that syntax makes any sense.
Yeah, I get it.
My bit part is I want to be the older gay man with his hat sideways that tells Adele to just like whoever you like.
I love that.
When she's in the gay bar.
That's a great moment.
His exact words are, love has no gender. Take whoever loves you.
Hell yeah.
And I thought that was beautiful.
I love that.
So who do you want to be?
So I'm going to send you a picture of this guy.
Oh boy.
When they're at the Pride Parade, the camera pans over the audience or the crowd there.
Oh boy.
And there is just an old dude right in the foreground who slowly turns to face the camera right before it cuts away. And this is me at every function. I just look kind of lost, kind of blitzed, and old as shit. And I love it.
Well, look at the guy in the white shorts right there. He's having the time of his life.
Oh, he's having a great time. We also both really enjoyed the kid who looked right at the camera.
That kid spiked the camera hard.
So funny. So funny.
All right. Well, Nathan, we're here.
Yeah.
And Chastity has put the work for us in front of us. We got to find the silver lining to blue is the warmest color. Mm-hmm. What do you got?
So this is maybe an obvious one, but they didn't destroy each other. Mm-hmm. And maybe this is just me coming to it having read the source material, but I just found that, there is, while it still feels pretty dark and bleak and hopeless, there is a little bit of hope there at the end that they're going to figure it out for themselves.
Yeah, no, I agree. Mine is kind of similar to that. I put that you're never going to be able to see this in the moment if you're someone who experiences this, but Adele at least knows that if nothing else, Emma still has a connection to her, even if it's just through intimacy.
Yeah.
She got to experience her first true love. She understood who she is, what she desires, and she could take that old gay man's advice and move forward knowing it was real and not just a phase. Like, she knows who she is now, and I feel like this will shape her to be a much stronger woman, and I feel like she'll have a much more mature relationship with somebody. And you always kind of have that one person in your life that you're like, I mean, just as crass and straightforward as possible, like, man, the sex was great.
Sure.
Everybody's going to have that, whether it's somebody you're with now, whether it's somebody you had when you were 16, whatever.
She's going to find somebody who has the same lust for life that she has.
Right. And someone that is not going to use her to get forward in life and also not put her on the back burner.
Sure.
She's a gorgeous girl. She's going to find somebody. So.
Right.
And plus, she's a school teacher. Like, everybody likes school teachers. So
totally.
There you go. Okay, well, let's say this. This movie does have an emotionally just devastating fucking ending. We always like to give people a second offering, a pick-me-up, a double feature, a movie that, look, if you watch this movie, you're like, guys, I'm bummed the fuck out. What can I watch afterwards? What's the suggestion you give me to, bring things up? And I'm going to go with the obvious, but it's a movie I kept thinking about as I'm going to suggest Moonlight.
Sure.
It's another coming of age story about sexuality. It's, an Oscar-winning movie. It's fantastic. It has some bleak moments as well. I think the ending, though, is a little more hopeful, if that makes any sense. It's a little more inspired.
Totally.
And you can also see it from the other side of things. You can see it from the male perspective. So,
absolutely.
What do you got?
I went with another coming-of-age film that's significantly lighter, but also kind of reveals new layers every time you watch it. And also as a way to apologize to the star of this film for getting her name wrong in a recent episode. I went with 1999's But I'm a Cheerleader, starring Natasha Lyonne.
Not Natasha Leggero.
Not Natasha Leggero, Natasha Lyonne. Apologies.
I just saw that movie for the first time this year.
Oh.
I never seen it before. Priscilla made me watch it, and it's good.
Yeah, it's an odd one, but I love it. I would also throw out, since Mally's not here, another. He'd probably recommend this one. Another complicated love story with a color in the title, 1984's Purple Rain.
There you go. Have you seen this year's Passages? It also stars Adèle in it.
No, I have not.
I have not seen it either. It's I believe it's another gay movie. It's on my watch list. I'm planning on watching it sometime soon, but
cool.
Yeah, I'll check it out and let you know.
Let me know for sure.
All right. Well, we've already gave our recommendations, so I'll say if you haven't already, please subscribe, rate, leave us some feedback. All the good podcast roundup stuff. Mm-hmm. If you haven't already, you can find our show pretty much anywhere you find podcasts. So if you don't like us on Spotify or whatever, you can go listen to us on iTunes or YouTube or Google Podcasts, wherever you want. We are on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we're on TikTok. And we also have our own subreddit at reddit.com/r/7linings playlist. I do appreciate the few listeners that do reach out to us on some of those platforms. Keep it coming.
Definitely.
Always open to having conversations about the movies we talk about on the show, or like Chastity here had a suggestion for one we cover on the show, you can also send us one.
Yeah.
You can go to google.com or any email, I guess, and just send an email to the @gmail.com and let us know what you think.
Yeah.
If you got thoughts on Blue with his Warmest Colour, you can also send those in as an email and we'll read them and get back to you. So we're very open in our discussions about movies. So
100%.
Yeah.
Not looking forward to the TikTok comments on this episode, but
nope. No, I can probably do it. I might even turn the comments off. Who knows? We'll see. So, Nathan, we're continuing the trend here of Mally always showing up for movies that are his picks. And who knows? He may not even show up for next week's episode, which is his pick, but we'll find out.
Mally's a busy guy. He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
Somewhat relevant to what we're going to be talking about next week. And this is the clue that Mally has bestowed upon us to give to you fine listeners. And that clue is the slowest movie about the fastest dude.
It's a good clue. It's a good clue.
I don't disagree. I am not looking forward to next week.
No.
I don't want to rewatch this movie.
I can't imagine watching it again.
It broke my brain the first time. Yeah. I don't want to watch it.
Yep. We're gonna.
Okay. Well, we have to outweigh the good with the bad sometimes on this show.
Sure.
So Priscilla always asks me all the time, why are you covering that stupid fucking movie? I'm like, look, they can't all be Oscar winning fucking Palme d'Or winning movies. We got to sometimes dig into the fucking trenches.
Sure.
So, anyway.
We got to speed force ourselves to watch this.
Next week will come in a flash. It'll be here so quick you won't even notice it. So
we got to take the good with the bad, man. There's a comma in there.
Oh, we're talked a lot about blue this week. We're going to be talking about some red next week.
That's right.
A lot of that's going to be my attitude about the movie is very vibrantly red. But anyway, any parting words for the folks this week before we get out of here?
No, enough Keaton around.
God damn it.
Let's get out of here.
I didn't even mean to set you up for that one. But anyway, recipes oatmeal. And as always,
orgasm precedes essence.
What am I, a sex cop?
Excelsior! Excelsior!
Excelsior! Excelsior! Look it up.
Yo, listen up, here's the story.
Hello, YouTube. If you've made it this far, thanks. Could you do us one more favor? Could you hit those like and subscribe buttons? Maybe leave us a comment on what you think of the show. We'd really appreciate it. Join us again next week for an all-new episode. Bye.